Hello, welcome to my Christmas in the French countryside vlog. The drive from Paris to Occitanie was about 7 hours. For lunch, we stopped at this tavern in this town that I can't remember the name of, but we ended up having a really good lunch. In the car, I studied for the exam that I was supposed to take the night prior, but didn't. Because we didn't want to pay the tolls, we ended up taking the scenic route, which was amazing. We went through so many small towns. I don't care if it's longer, I will choose the scenic route every single time. Since we were arriving late to the Airbnb, we decided to stop at the closest town where we had dinner and walked around. There's just something so serene about these small towns that I love. Finally, we made it to the house and we were wiped, so we went straight to bed. The next day, however, was puppy day. So we went to the nearest bakery, which was not near at all, probably like 30 minutes out. And yes, I did say pain au chocolat instead of chocolatine to make a point. It was about an hour drive in the French countryside to the lady's house, and finally we made it. And we picked up our child. She was so much cuter in person than I could have literally ever imagined. Naturally, she was a little bit anxious, so she hid in my coat on the drive home, and then we obviously had to give her a good little bath. Look at her, she's so cute. After her bath, she was shivering so much, so she climbed into Marshall's sweater. Then we hung out for the rest of the evening. I took my exam and just admired how freaking cute Remy is. When we were in the US in July last year, Marshall bought this weenie dog wine bottle from Trader Joe's, and he said that we would only open it when we got our first dachshund. Little did we know that 6 months later we'd be opening it in the southern region of France with our little Remy. It was such a sweet moment, and obviously I had to keep the label as a memory. The next day I saw that it was going to snow about 30 minutes out from where we were, so obviously I made Marshall drive us to a town that was about an hour away. There are no words to describe just how beautiful the drive there was. Being from Texas, I'm just obsessed with snow. I think it is the most beautiful thing ever, and this was legitimately the most amount of snow I've ever seen in my entire life. Driving through the French countryside under a blanket of snow in a warm car with my puppy on my lap and Marshall next to me was just a core memory that I will cherish forever. Finally, we had made it to Rodez, and it was straight out of a Hallmark movie. This town, powdered white with Christmas decorations, snow-covered pines, and light displays on buildings, was everything and more. The next day, we went to Toulouse, and I apparently recorded absolutely nothing from the city, but that evening we did go to a raclette restaurant in Toulouse that was so cool. This was my first time ever having raclette, which is criminal that it's taken this long, and I had it in an old ski lift. How cool is that? The day after was Christmas Eve, and naturally, we all had to put on our matching sweaters and then hit up the nearest small town to really soak up the last Christmas vibes. In France, everyone does Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve, so Marshall got a big ass steak that was so juicy and so tender and just insane. It was way too big for the two of us, so needless to say, we had lots of leftovers for the next couple of days. We had wine and champagne, and for dessert we had a bûche de Noël, which is a traditional French Christmas dessert. We got a coffee flavored one, and I legitimately cannot stop thinking about it. We ended the night with our bellies full and happy to lay down and cuddle. The next morning was Christmas, and I decided to watch this god-awful Christmas movie, The Merry Gentleman, while Marshall made a Christmas breakfast of pancakes and bacon, which was just perfect. And although we decided not to do gifts for each other, we wrapped everything that we bought for Remy so like that it felt like we still had gifts to open, and Remy did a fine job opening her gifts. Marshall then decided to make cinnamon rolls from scratch, and then we decided to take a hike. When I tell you this house was in the middle of nowhere, I mean it, and that's what made it so incredible. There was so much property and trails to explore. It was truly the perfect Paris getaway. It felt like we were in the holiday, except instead of being in the Cotswolds, we were in the French countryside. After saying hi to some adorable goats and letting Remy run around for a bit, we headed back to the house where Marshall finished making his cinnamon rolls. And Remy and I cuddled up on the porch swing where we kept each other warm, and I reflected on what a beautiful Christmas we had. And as much as I wished we could have stayed longer, I was also super excited to go back to Paris and show Remy her new life. Needless to say, it was a beautiful, relaxing trip where we got to add one more member to our little family. Thanks for watching. Bisous!